Was anything that he said at the end there about documenting the evidence and not taking photos correct?
No, it was not in the standard of forensics. When you conduct a crime scene investigation, you have to document where each piece of evidence comes from. It has to be shown on a sketch. You have to take measurements. He didn't do any of that, nor did he call the crime scene investigators who are trained to do just that to do it. Okay.
They were found in the general area. All of them were found in the general area and not documented.
And so where's the integrity of the investigation? In New York, as I keep saying time and time again, once the district attorney reviewed this case and with these detectives coming in to present this case to them for prosecution, they would have left these guys out of their office and kicked them out. They wouldn't have went to trial with this.
This would have been a 343, as we know it, declined to prosecute. I mean, this is a sham. This is a disgrace to police officer John O'Keefe and his family. It's a disgrace to the profession. And when Alan Jackson, and kudos to Alan Jackson, there's not many defense attorneys that I actually love. I actually love the way he goes at his cross-examinations, the way he goes at the witnesses. He is like a pit bull, and he never let up. He was relentless with exposing Sgt Bukhenik for the non-investigator that he is. He's not an investigator.
And no reasonable person who knows the smallest aspects of the crime scene standards can say what they did was reasonable, or can come up with some excuse to overlook all the flaws in their investigation and all the flaws in their crime scene techniques. He took all those plastic pieces and put them in packages together. They're supposed to be individually packaged. Okay, there is not one lick of documentation, yet he says there's integrity in this investigation. There's no integrity. There is no investigation.
Right.
Okay? And look at the size of those pieces. How did you miss that in all those other searches before?
Yeah. And let's not even get into reports being filed 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500 days later. Jagaloon 101. Yes, somebody put it in the chat. Let's get some Jagaloon, hashtag Jagaloon. That's how you spell it. Jagaloon.
You know, I was talking to my wife before the show, and my wife is also a first grade detective and a major case detective.
Margaret is no nonsense.
Huh? Oh, yeah. No nonsense. But I was talking to her. I said, hon, what would happen to you if you conducted an interview and didn't generate a report until 584 days after the interview? Oh, she goes, she would have taken her hit. Her bosses would have taken a hit for failure to supervise. I mean, first of all, in the NYPD, they would have never let,
It wouldn't have been a 5-day hit. It would have been a 30-day hit.
First of all, there's no supervisor in the NYPD that negligent that they wouldn't have said, where's your DD5?
Yeah.
Which is what we call the form that we use.
Right. These are the detectives' forms that are filled out and entered into the system.
No crime scene report, no chain of custody, no evidence log, nothing. The integrity of your evidence cannot be accounted for. If you can't show a prosecutor where the evidence was at the crime scene, the case is over, gone by. Some of the important factors in here about what transpired that night at that house, that it was involving the love triangle and what happened at the bar that night. Okay. And today, as opposed to the last trial, you got all of these text messages that came in, because the last trial, those you didn't have nearly the amount of text messages. He made that sergeant read those text messages so that everybody could fully understand what was happening here between Karen and Higgins. Yeah. And that was masterful. And then right after that, he jumps into the video inside the bar.
And it responded, "Do you like me?" I said, "Yes," from jump. Defendant said, "When was jump?" I said first time I saw you.
Do you like me? Yes. From jump. When was jump?
Bukhenik didn't send any of those text messages, yet he had to read them all into evidence. Why not call Brian Higgins to do so, like we saw the prosecution do in the first trial? After all, the defense is accusing him of being a third-party culprit.
So remember that when we're dealing with the elements of a crime, one of the most important things that we have to show is consciousness of guilt. And we don't know right now whether or not Karen Reed is going to take the stand. So we need to hear her voice somehow throughout this trial. And when the text messages came in the first time around, they were cherry picked, if you guys remember. Now we're hearing all the messages in its full context from beginning to end. So this is a way to take away from the steam of the prosecution cherry picking and putting out the full context, which if you look at the text messages, at one point, Karen just is not interested. And it's really Brian Higgins who was like pursuing this relationship even more. So it takes away from this consciousness of guilt that she had some anger towards John. And this was like some sort of like revenge, murder. And I think that was really effective today.
I will say, listening to it, when Brian Higgins is reading his own text, it was very flat, but we had Sgt Bukhenik put a little bit of his bedtime story spin on it with, inflection.
I'm in the blue bubbles. Did you try those Smirnoff screwdrivers? I stopped at the Hilly for one last night. I said, haha, how did you get my digits? Defendant responded, the Melissa and Lido show. I said, haha, I thought you creeped John's phone. I said, haha, again. Defendant responded, no way. I was the last person in Greater Canton who didn't have your number. I think even Kerry has it. I responded, what, with a bunch of question marks? I said, I just don't give my personal number out to anyone.
Haha. I knew she did. Sorry you felt neglected. Haha. So no dice on the Smirnoff? I have not tried it. Saw it in the store the other day and thought of you. I laughed out loud. Don't give Carrie my digits. Thought of me and everyone's grandfather. I won't give your digits to anyone. You don't like Carrie? I have no issues with Carrie. Just don't want her having my jack. Saving you as Karen, screwdriver, or weed whacker. Need to think about it a little.
Yes, I saw that he was trying to make it like it was a conversation back and forth, whereas when Higgins was asked to do it, he just was straight down the board. So Ed, let's talk a little bit about the dog and the rehoming. And we heard those words from Sergeant Bukhenik today.
May I, Your Honor? Thank you. Sergeant, at some point during the course of your investigation, did you learn that the Albert family had gotten rid of the dog named Chloe?
We learned that they no longer cared for the dog. I don't know if get rid of is accurate.
Well, they don't have it anymore, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you call it?
Giving it up for adoption, I guess? I don't know. I'm not a pet owner.
What if they didn't give it up for adoption?
I'm sorry?
What if they didn't give it up for adoption?
Rehomed, I guess?
Okay. So it's no longer with them, right?
Correct. They no longer own the dog.
Okay, so they got rid of it. It's like you get rid of a car, right? Right?
You can get rid of a car, yeah.
Okay. And you can get rid of a dog. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, you can get rid of a dog, yes.
Okay.
Used that exact verbiage that the dog was rehomed, but it took a lot for Alan Jackson to get that out of him. Right. And it took a lot for Alan Jackson to get anything out of Sergeant Bukhenik. He was very combative on his answers. He was talking about, I don't know if this paper is certified. He was challenging Alan Jackson's authenticity of all of the documents that he brought forward in the court. And I haven't seen a sergeant do that in a long, long time. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even get that out of my memory of ever seeing someone say, well, I don't know. Is this really a document? Like, where did you get this from?
I'm not sure when they were interviewed. I don't have a memory of instructing him to go interview them.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
take a look at that document and tell me if you. Why don't you just tell me if that, whether or not that refreshes your recollection as to communications you had with Michael Proctor specifically. Thank you, Sergeant. Does that refresh your recollection as to a conversation, or I'm sorry, a communication that you had with Michael Proctor?
Unfortunately, it does not. I will take the document at face value. I do not have a memory of having these communications, but I will take the document if it's authentic and it is true and accurate that it took place. But I do not have a memory of sending these text messages.
Yes.
Also, my name's misspelled in there. Is that from the extraction, or where is that from?
Couldn't tell you. Wasn't me.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I can't take credit for that. If your memory is not refreshed about that particular communication, do you remember in general communicating with Michael Proctor about interviewing Ricky D'Antona and Heather Maxson?
I do not know. I'm sorry.
Would that have been something that you would have found important relatively early on in the investigation? Yeah, these are eyewitnesses. Let's get them interviewed.
Yes, it is important to interview anyone that's an eyewitness. Sometimes it takes longer because... Are you listening? I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You asked the question. I just wanted to answer.
I know the answers to my own questions. Go ahead. I may have misspoken. Sergeant, take a look at that. I thought that was a report from somebody else. It's a report from you, actually. Tell me if that refreshes your recollection as to when Ricky D'Antona was actually interviewed.
Yes, this report, authored by me, was states that on Saturday, September 2nd, he was interviewed.
What year?
2023.
So that would have been a year and a half later, correct?
Yes.
Do you believe that's a timely report, or rather a timely interview for an eyewitness, the gravity of which is described in your report?
Again, perfect ideal world scenario, it would be quicker.
Is this really a document? Like, where did you get this from? Like, he was basically accusing him of being a shyster.
Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of the documents that AJ had were from discovery. He got it from the prosecutors. In fact, at one point during these stupid pissing matches between the sergeant and AJ, initiated by the sergeant over documents, he went to he went to the prosecutor and got the prosecutor to stipulate that these are true and accurate documents and moved it in that way.
Right.
I mean, it's really stupid. The pettiness of the sergeant and what he was doing. You know, where do you think I got these documents from? I got them from Discovery. Okay, and his report about the dog, he doesn't give dates, time of the new name of the dog. We don't know exactly the dates and times this dog transferred ownership to all the players here. And now the final owner is a vet. And then they brought his PhD doctor, quote unquote, canine psychologist, expert from Florida, who's coming up here. And I don't know what this guy is going to do. Is he going to do a mental health on the dog here? Or because he's said to have casted his teeth for to take a dental casting of the dog's teeth. According to what I see on this guy's, the information I found on this guy, that seems to be out of his bailiwick. And, and we know that, at least I know that, in forensic odontology of comparing teeth, denture, to bite marks on skin has been debunked. We can no longer use it in courts in the United States. So we can't do bite mark impressions in skin
right.
from denture. Okay, we can do it in other objects like food, like a fruit, an apple, or something like that. We can do that, but we can no longer do it in skin. So if he's going to try to do that, I'm sure he's not a board certified odontologist. So, and I don't know what Judge Bev is going to do. She's so unfreaking predictable because none of this other evidence or this trial should be here in the first place. But she said, oh, you could go. No chain of custody, good. No sketch, good. No measurements of the evidence, good. No photos of the evidence, no worries. Okay? You know, I mean, so, I mean, they're going to come in and he's going to say he's going to compare the casting of the dog. So, and I'm right away when I'm thinking he casted that dog's a biter. He he's bit several people and several other dogs. So then it dawned on me, he's a PhD. Oh, he doesn't have the ability to get medications and anesthetize the dog to knock it out to do that. Then I realized the new owner is a vet. Yeah. The vet could have done it, knock the dog out so that he could cast the teeth.
I hope after this trial or his testimony is over that his bosses do something about this guy, because he, in my opinion, is not helpful as it pertains to any investigations. And I would want to go one step further and look at all of the investigations, not just only Michael Proctor, but all of his investigators, those 4 in that squad. We have their names. Every single case that they've ever worked on should be looked at, because these guys are incompetent. This is them proving in trial testimony that they are incompetent, whether they're doing it on purpose, whether they're trying to do something to cover this ridiculousness up, whatever the meaning is behind this guy is coming off as a big dummy.
Well, I think we need to back up a little bit and then widen our view. Here's our choices with what's going on here. Incompetency, 1, 2, corruption, or 3, incompetency and corruption.